Welcome back, watch people. Now I'm going to open tonight's video, I think, with a first for me. I'm going to show you, first of all, what I'm wearing tonight, and it is, of course, my James Cameron Rolex Deep Sea Dweller, which does happen to be my favourite watch of all time. Now, guys, you're going to have to follow me on this one because principles are often mentioned in the watch business, and in particular, authorised dealers will work on what they believe to be the correct principles for them, at least. Now, they won't, out of principle, always serve someone unless they're dressed accordingly. Out of principle, they'll rarely, if ever, sell someone walking in off the street a hot sports model, and they detest grey market dealers because it's against their principles for anyone to sell a Rolex watch other than themselves. You see, I want to touch tonight on the thorny subject of factory seals, their removal, the importance of them, and the misconceptions and myths that surround them. Now, I fully appreciate that to some, the insistence that authorised dealers, at least in the UK, remove the seals from your watch before you leave their store is rather meaningless. After all, to many, they're only going to take the watches home and take them off themselves later on. And of course, there are still some people out there who also believe naively and incorrectly that the removal of factory seals can help slow down the grey market, or indeed the value of a grey market watch. But I'm afraid you're going to have to think again where that one is concerned, because nothing could be further from the truth. And look, I understand that the concern over the removal of factory seals could be seen as nitpicking by some and almost irrelevant to others, but for what it's worth, here's my take on the entire sticker off situation and why I believe it's a lot more important than people might give it credit for. Now, there are some very good reasons why people like myself, as an example, would much prefer to walk out of a Rolex store with their factory seals firmly in place, because there are some genuine both short and long-term advantages. Now, firstly, not everyone wants to risk damaging the watch they've just paid thousands of pounds for, and leaving at least some of those factory seals on the watch can delay hairline scratches, particularly on the clasp. And there are others who want to buy an expensive gift and give it to their loved one, and wouldn't it be nice to be able to present that gift properly and fully sealed, confirming that this is indeed a brand spanking new Rolex watch that no one else has ever seen, owned or worn. Proud parents, they'll often make a purchase for their son and daughter to be presented on a special occasion, and in my day as a watch dealer, I sold lots of watches to proud new parents who would buy a watch the day their new child was born, be it a son or a daughter, to give it to them in maybe 18 or 21 years time. How nice would it be to be able to present that special memento complete with its factory seals still in place, ensuring that its condition is as it was when it left the factory all those years ago. Wonderful. Now, there's also the full set scenario to consider. Many collectors will consider factory stickers as part of a complete proper full set, even if they've already been removed from the watch and simply stuck on a piece of card to preserve them. I'm sure there'll be many of you out there who will recognise this from past purchases. Now look, I'm sure that we've all been out and bought a new iPhone or a new GoPro in our time. It's just an example, right? And I wonder how any of us would feel, or more importantly, would it be acceptable if that salesman ripped off all those nice protective stickers before handing it over to us to leave the store? You see, personally, I think there's something really rewarding and indeed quite satisfying about removing the brand new sticker status from any luxury item, and that should include your watch, which, by the way, costs a whole heap less than your average iPhone or your average GoPro. Now, can you even imagine a company like Apple allowing their stores to rip seals off their products in front of their customers' faces before they even got to use it? And would you accept it if they did? I think the answer is no. So why do we accept it when it comes to watches? Now, in my experience at least, Apple know a little bit about customer service, and they also tend to employ people who appear to enjoy their job rather than the pseudo power that they think that job brings them. Now, I have to be honest and say that this video, at least, was inspired by a friend's recent experience, just last Saturday, in fact, when he was walking along his local high street. He spotted the watch of his dreams in his local authorised dealership's window, a steel and gold Yachtmaster 2. Not exactly a hard to find watch, but not one that you find regularly. So he went in, debit card at the ready, and looking forward to buying his very first brand spanking new Rolex. According to him, the sale and the experience was a pleasant one and a very friendly one indeed. He tried the watch on and it had stayed on his wrist right throughout the transaction. The watch was bought, paid for, warranty card completed, and then something happened that turned the whole experience into something a little more disappointing. Just as he was about to leave the store, the salesman dropped the bombshell that before he left, he needed to remove the factory seals from his watch, to which my friend replied, "No thank you, I want to keep them." He was then told, unfortunately, company policy states that he would not be allowed to leave the store with the watch unless the seals were removed. Really? Now, I'm not sure what new laws have been passed recently, but I'm pretty sure that none of them include a law that allows salespeople working in watch boutiques to hold people against their will with the property that is bought and paid for and is theirs. And frankly, at this stage, my friend remained a lot more restrained than I think I would have been able to. Now, look, after insisting again that he wanted to keep the seals in place, the salesman suggested that he went to fetch his manager to clear up any miscommunication and solve the issue. Enter the manager, who also cements his colleague's statement that company policy does not allow watches to be taken from the store with the factory seals still in place. And he asked my friend politely what his problem is, to which my friend replied just as politely, "I have no problem. I want to keep my seals, they're mine, I've paid for them, I've bought them, and I intend to take them home." Now, at this point, in all fairness, I think the manager has realised that even his Rolex badge is not going to be enough to intimidate this particular client into getting his own way. So he very kindly and generously allowed him to leave the store, complete with his watch and his factory seals. Now guys, look, I started this video talking about principles, and here's one that for some strange reason I've always believed in and always kind of lived by. It's that if I pay for something, it's mine. I've bought it. I own title to it. I can do what I like with it, when I like with it, as long as that is legal. I can throw it away, I can give it away, I can throw it under a bus if I choose to do so. It's mine, all of it, and it belongs to me. And if Rolex, and let's be fair, we know it's not Rolex, we all know that this is just another case of UK authorised dealership playing the snobbery card, and whom are dead scared that their customers might just be able to walk around the corner and make a 10 or 20% profit on a watch that they've just made nearly 40% profit on directly from the same individual. Don't forget, that's one of their very first principles. Only they are entitled to make a profit from a Rolex watch. It's the same situation with the warranty cards, guys, which eventually, of course, they lost, and rightly so. Now look, if Rolex want to remove factory seals before they leave the store, then that's their decision and it's their right to do so, all the time that they own them. And now look, if it's a term and condition of that particular company's sale, then fine. But you've got to tell the client before you take his money, not afterwards, because then it's too late, and then it becomes the principle of them retaining your property that you've paid for. But here's the deal, and here's the problem. Rolex will never remove factory seals until they've had their money. Why? Because they know the importance of them. The seals are definitive proof of the watch being brand new, and they also know that once the seals are removed from the watch, it's far more likely to pick up a little knock or a scratch, and they don't want that to happen until it's yours. And look guys, we've been through this part before. If anyone thinks that I get some kind of pleasure out of calling out authorised dealerships, then look, I'll be honest, you're right. I've told you before, I spent years having their inexperienced, sometimes power-hungry sales staff telling my potential customers that they should never buy a Rolex watch from any independent watch dealer. They say what goes around comes around, so now perhaps it's their turn to have to explain themselves to the watch buying public, when all I ever wanted from them was for them to show at least some level of respect. Now finally, if there's anyone out there that still needs convincing that this seal removal policy is little more than a nasty, cheap, spiteful act of selfishness, then please consider this. Why is it that Rolex insist on the removal of the seals that are apparently so unimportant on your brand new watch, yet when you take it back, the same watch, in a few years' time, and you have to pay a hefty price for that watch to be serviced, they'll take pride in sending you that same watch back with specially highlighted seals just to prove that they've done the job properly. Guys, look, principles, I guess that ultimately it depends on how strong yours are, but personally, for me, I'd never allow an authorised dealer to con me out of what is both mine legally and mine morally. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll speak again soon.